Hey there, y'all. How's everybody doing today? Well, it's a pretty halfway decent day here in Portland, and I've been meaning to make a video here talking about natural substances, natural remedies, or natural medicines, and I've just been putting it off for several days, probably for the sake of not wanting to, A, spend the time to research and take notes and make a video when YouTube is probably just going to pull it anyway. And B, it just seems like the war on natural medicine, if you will, has reached a pace where there are two lines of thinking and people are very stubbornly stuck into their ways of thinking. I hear people talk about how, you have to trust your doctors, I'm not going to take some natural leaf or herb when I can trust my doctors and take a pill that they're giving me. And that seems to be the status quo. People really do think that their doctors know what's best for them. And in a time when doctors knew their patients, lived in the same towns as their patients, and understood their patients, and actually cared about their practice in that way, and were able to, and also when there was limited things to prescribe, in other words, you got a headache, go home and deal with it. Today, now they're just throwing pills at everything you can imagine. So there's the side of people who believe that the pills are the answer, the magic solution. I think most people are figuring out that that's not how it is. And then there's the quack camp, I guess you could call it. And this is just as bad. These are the people who I see all over the internet saying, big pharma is just out to kill you, and they have no interest in your health whatsoever. I'm not saying that they do have interest in your health, but the idea that since pharma is out to make money, then somehow natural medicines are the only way and the best way for every situation, which I strongly disagree with. And there are some ailments which require pharmaceuticals that we cannot obtain as easily or readily from nature, and things that we have discovered. Well, for example, if you get a horrible infection, and sure, you can take an herb and put salves on that and whatnot, and maybe it'll help. But if it doesn't, then taking an antibiotic could be useful. And this is why in the past what we've done with antibiotics is just completely absurd. We've destroyed ourselves and our ability to fight off infections and creating superbugs by overusing these things. And this is the problem. We get into the arguments of what's been done in the past, and what medicines have been used in the past, and what plants have been used in the past, instead of looking at what do we really know now, what really works. You can call every doctor a quack, and the doctors can call every naturopath a quack. That's not doing us any good, because we know that people walk out of both places with results. Now, placebo is one hell of a drug, and a lot of doctors will say, well, when people take certain herbs for an ailment, it's just the placebo effect. And say, well, it's exactly the same with medicine. Taking a sugar pill. We all know that placebo is a phenomenal thing, and that if you really intend on healing yourself, then if you take, no matter what you're taking, if you believe that it's working, then it has a much higher likelihood of actually helping you than if you say, oh, this isn't going to work. And there is a huge psychology involved in that, but we have to set that aside. We have to set many of the things we want to believe aside to say what's really going on with the attack on natural medicine. And so I should kind of summarize what I mean here. Those who have watched my channel for a while know that my previous channel was deleted, and probably most of my subscribers on here were people who came from my other channel. And I talked about all different types of subjects, but which were the videos that got strikes on them, which got my account deleted? Well, at least one was about kratom. I had several strikes on videos about kratom, but I also got videos on, or strikes on videos about ashwagandha and mucuna and other herbs. And it left me thinking, what is okay to talk about and what's not? What is acceptable to be able to discuss? But more than that, why? And who has the money to lobby against natural medicines? See, I'm trying to look at this from a perspective of a rational human being. Someone who's not, I do not believe that every pharmaceutical industry and every government is in cahoots to try to make the people sick, and that they just want to pump you full of pharmaceuticals. It's more than that. It's money. It's all money to people. Yes, people are numbers to these large corporations, and If you can find something that will prolong an illness but give you reprieve, that's going to make them a lot more money than something that will cure it. And I don't blame doctors for saying, hey, you know, these are people making these claims, but that these herbs will help you, but, you know, there's no evidence or science behind it. And many times this is true, but only because nobody will put the money into it. You see, with the pharmaceutical industry, they have a lot of money to invest in trying out new drugs, because if they succeed, they can patent them. And then a lot of folks don't know this. You cannot patent a plant. You can't patent a natural substance. Therefore, there's really no money to be made by the pharmaceutical industry off of these herbs. So, as a guy who grew up, I was a cannabis advocate for years and was fascinated with CBD long before it became even, you know, even remotely popular. And I've seen what's happened. It's grown to this you know, at this exponential rate, to where now people are saying, yeah, just take CBD for everything. And I could see why many doctors might think, hey, you know, you can't just throw these new fads at everything. CBD is wonderful and it has many medical benefits. And it's been shown to fight cancer cells and to help the body to, you can look it up for yourself, you know, but it doesn't matter. The studies have taken a long time to come through, and because it's been in the Schedule 1. And this is what they were trying to do in 2016 with kratom. And we fought hard, and we got the DEA to back down. But then recently, this, you know, Jeff Rosen, or I don't even remember his name now, Rosenblum or something, the guy that, the head of the FDA, he's, you know, he comes out and he declares that, you know, kratom or mitragynine is an opioid. And so now I hear people quoting that. Oh, well, kratom's an opioid. Oh, you shouldn't be taking kratom. I'm like, you know, you can't just link a molecule that has similar effects and just call it something and expect people to really understand what that means. But they made these little charts of what they say is going on in the brain, and people believe it, and it scares people off. So it's not just kratom. It's the whole healthcare industry is, there are a lot of scammers out there, okay? I want to get that clear. There are a lot of people selling really shitty product. And I found out that up to 30% of the products tested on the shelves that were claiming to be herbal blends didn't contain any of some of the claimed herbs that were in there. And something like 20% of them had nothing in there but filler. I mean, it was an absurd amount, and they tested only a limited, you know, group of herbs. But here's the thing: if you work at a facility and you're, you know, you have a business packaging herbs and you're selling them all across store shelves everywhere, you say, well, who's going to know if there's just a little bit less celery seed in here? Who's going to know if there's just a little bit less of this or a little bit less of that? And with kratom, people know if it's not working. And many opioids are the same way. They, you know, when they're affecting you, you know. Same thing with anxiolytics or antidepressants often, even though those can be very placebo-related too. But when your pain goes away, your pain goes away. Let's just put it that way. And so there is science behind how a lot of these herbs and plants work, but it's just being so obscured. It's just, it pisses me off. It pisses me off because I'm being, you know, I feel like I want to educate people on these things, and I'd love to put some time into it, but it falls on deaf ears a lot of the time, and more than that, it just gets, put it this way, the individual really has to do their own research. Do not rely on some YouTuber like me to tell you what herbs are good for you. Do not rely on some doctor to tell you what medicine you should take completely. Do your research, educate yourself, and learn about your environment and about the herbs that grow in it, the plants, the substances, and how they're used by nature. This is because I'm still new to this. I've been obsessed with herbs since I was young, but I still don't know that much about it. I don't understand all the deepest workings of how they interact in the body, and no one does. But I do see a lot of people who make these videos claiming that, oh, this is the ultimate herb for this and this and this, and there are no ultimate herbs. They all have their own place. And for example, I brought this out because I wanted to show you this little bag of red reishi extract. This little bag of mushroom extract cost me almost $100. And why would I spend that much on something so small? Just some mushrooms, you know? It's because reishi is the king of mushrooms. They've been taking it in Japan, you know, for, you know, all through history, and it's very highly prized as a strong medicinal mushroom. And this one says high triterpene red reishi alcohol extract, made with real mushrooms, not mycelia. It's a 20-to-1 extract. It has over 8% triterpene content and over 10% mushroom polysaccharides. Now, polysaccharides are basically chain sugars, if you will, but when we're talking about the triterpenes, now terpenes are found in cannabis. They're found in all different types of plants. When you smell lemon balm, when you smell sage, what you're smelling is the terpenes that give it that odor, especially cannabis. And there are several terpenes. You know, myrcene, for example, gives it kind of a spicy smell, where limonene gives it more of a lemony or citrusy smell. And what they're finding is that not just the cannabinoids within cannabis, but the actual terpenes can affect how they affect you. And there's much research to be done in this, but what I'm getting at is that terpenes themselves are basically essential oils, if you will. Any essential oil bottle, those are terpenes. They're known to have medicinal benefits. They've been used through history in all different types of situations. They're known to kill mold and bacteria and all types of things. I use melaleuca oil and peppermint all the time. But people seem to take them as still that kind of natural stuff. Oh, it's just the hippie stuff. Now, these are strong medicines. These are things that can actually help your immune system to save your life in certain circumstances. It's just that the people don't know. We're not educated enough on it, and there's no money being put into the research on these things. But meanwhile, our government will spend billions of dollars paying grants and funding research for pharmaceutical companies to help fund them to discover new drugs so they can profit on it. And once they make their profit, then they come back and lobby billions of dollars to politicians to say, hey, here, I'll pay for your campaign, you just stick by my side. The pharmaceutical industry is huge. They are one of the biggest. Not the biggest, but one of the biggest. And the decisions that are being made for us, for our health, should be made by us as individuals. But the choice should be there. No one should be obscuring or trying to hide or to edit or censor what's going on with natural medicine. You know, it's absurd to me. It's one thing to talk bad about it. It's another thing to actually willfully block people from obtaining the things that they want. And by the DEA, let's say an FDA coming out and declaring that about kratom, even though it's still a legal herb, now no, let's say credit processors will work with kratom vendors, and or having trouble getting imports because they get seized and destroyed. And so what do we do as individuals? How are we supposed to navigate this world with the complexity that it is, and trying to learn from one another while we have all this obscuring of things that can actually save our lives and help us to live better lives? And that should infuriate everyone. To think that anyone would try to stop you from educating yourself or medicating yourself in a way that works for yourself. So as free adults, we don't have all the choices that we wish we had. This is not it's not a free country. It's not a free world. We're always bogged down by the politics and the cogs in the wheel that keep everything turning. So that's all I really wanted to cover today. I could go on and on about natural medicines, but I kind of, at this point, it just seems like it's an uphill battle, but we just have to keep fighting it to try to educate people on the fact that some of these herbs can really help us to live better lives. But at the same time, herbs are not just this big answer to life. And these people who are out here pushing every different medicine just so they can sell their product, that has to stop too. Be honest, be straightforward. There are side effects with herbs. There are side effects with drugs. There are interaction warnings with herbs as with drugs. And when I say herbs, I'm talking about plants, herbs, roots, stalks, leaves, seeds, all parts of the plant, as well as alcohol extracts, water extracts, many different types of preparations that can be made from these plants. And we live in a day and age where we can access them readily. Essential oil used to be a very valuable commodity, as did spices. Spices, pepper, was worth more than gold by weight at one time. But since we have access to all these things, we take them for granted. I mean, we can go down to the health food store and pick up any herb that previously would have taken, you know, months to cross the plains and cross the seas. So taking things for granted, that's just going to, you know, that's just kind of how it is being a human. But to remember that some of these medicines, some of these amazing tools at our disposal are just sitting on the shelf somewhere, or, you know, just an order or a click away. But it's a matter of educating each other and ourselves without making bold claims about some miracle cures, right? Life's difficult, and the same herbs don't work for everyone, you know. I say there are a couple, like ashwagandha is a great one, but some people, you know, might have a negative reaction to that one too. Everybody has their own body chemistry, and finding what works for you is a difficult task. So good luck on it, and talk to y'all later. Have a wonderful day.